They kept telling us Bron Breakker was the future. They kept telling us he was different. That he was dangerous. That he was on another level. And most of us nodded along, appreciated the athletic gifts, cheered the spear, enjoyed the show, but deep down, a part of us thought we understood him. Thought we had him figured out. Monday Night Raw just proved every single one of us wrong. What Bron Breakker did to Bronson Reed was not a wrestling segment. It was not a rivalry moment. It was not a carefully choreographed piece of sports entertainment designed to pop the crowd and sell a pay-per-view match. What we witnessed was a dismantling. A calculated, cold, almost inhuman act of physical destruction that should have every superstar in that locker room sitting in silence right now, staring at the wall, asking themselves one very uncomfortable question. Am I next? But before we rip this entire thing apart, if you are not subscribed to Ring Rumble 1, fix that right now. Hit that subscribe button and slam the notification bell, because we are the channel that doesn't flinch, doesn't sugarcoat, and does not bow to the WWE narrative. We break down what actually happened, what it means, and what comes next, and we do it better than anyone else in this space. You do not want to be catching up on this stuff late. Subscribe, bell, all notifications. Do it now, and then let's get into this, because this one is going to shake you. Now let's set the scene. Bronson Reed is not a small man. Let's get that established immediately, and let's not move past it too quickly, because context matters here. Bronson Reed is a mountain of a human being. He is the kind of superstar that makes other big men look ordinary. He carries that weight with terrifying agility, he hits with legitimate force, and when he is motivated and locked in, he is one of the most physically imposing presences in all of professional wrestling today. And Bron Breakker treated him like an inconvenience. That's what made this so deeply unsettling. It wasn't just that Breakker was aggressive, we've seen aggressive. It wasn't just that he was intense, intensity is everywhere in WWE. It was the way he did it. The expression on his face, or more accurately, the lack of one. The methodical, almost emotionless efficiency with which he took Bronson Reed apart piece by piece. Like he was completing a task. Like this was simply something that needed to be done, and he was the man built to do it. There was no showboating. There was no playing to the crowd. There was no moment where Breakker stepped back and soaked it in. He just kept going, and going, and going. Let's talk about what actually happened, because the highlights alone don't do this justice. You need to understand the full weight of it. From the moment this escalated, Reed had no answer. And again, this is Bronson Reed we are talking about. A man who has gone toe-to-toe with some of the biggest and most dangerous superstars in recent memory. A man who has taken punishment and kept standing. A man who, on his best nights, makes the audience genuinely fear for whoever is standing across from him. Breakker neutralized all of that. He took away everything that makes Reed dangerous. He closed distance before Reed could use his power. He used his own terrifying speed to overwhelm any attempt at a counter, and when Reed went down, Breakker didn't pause. Didn't breathe. Didn't give him a single second to recover. The spear. The relentless ground assault. The way he threw Reed into the barricade like it was a warm-up exercise. Every single moment of it communicated the same thing in a language that needs no translation. I am on a completely different level than everyone here. Including you. And here is where this gets truly maddening, because we need to have an honest conversation about what WWE has been sitting on with Bron Breakker, and whether the rest of the roster is even equipped to slow this man down. It's every last skeptic. The moment that would make even the most resistant wrestling fans sit up straight and say, okay. Okay. I get it now. I understand what this is. Monday Night Raw just gave us that moment. What Breakker did to Bronson Reed was the official announcement. Not of a championship. Not of a WrestleMania match. But of an era. Of a presence that is going to hang over this roster like a storm cloud for the foreseeable future, and there is genuinely no clear answer to who stops it. Now I want to address something, because I can already see the comments forming in some of your heads. Some of you are going to say this was too much. That Breakker went too far. That what he did to Reed crossed a line, and that WWE should have pulled the reins back before it escalated to that level. And you know what? I understand that perspective. I genuinely do. But here's the thing, the reason it felt like too much is exactly why it worked. Wrestling, at its best, is supposed to make you feel something you don't expect. It's supposed to reach through the screen, grab you by the collar, and force you to react. And whether your reaction to what Breakker did to Reed was excitement, shock, concern, or outright anger, you had a reaction. A real one. A visceral one. When was the last time a Raw segment genuinely made your stomach drop? When was the last time you watched something on that show and felt genuine unease? Not because of a storyline twist, but because of the sheer physicality and ferocity of what was unfolding in front of you. That is rare. That is genuinely, increasingly rare in modern WWE. And Bron Breakker just delivered it on a random Monday night without a pay-per-view in sight. That's not a problem. That's a gift. But let's not lose sight of Bronson Reed in this conversation, because his story coming out of this moment is one that needs to be acknowledged with the respect it deserves. Being the person on the receiving end of a career-defining beatdown is a role that carries real professional risk. Done wrong, it buries you. Done wrong, you become a footnote, the guy who got destroyed by the guy who went on to do great things. Your name becomes a stepping stone in someone else's highlight package, and the crowd forgets to care about your recovery. But Bronson Reed is too talented for that narrative. And if WWE has any sense, which, admittedly, is sometimes a generous assumption, they will use this moment not as a conclusion for Reed but as a detonator. Because there is nothing more compelling in professional wrestling than a giant, dangerous man with a legitimate grievance and nothing left to lose. Reed now has every reason in the world to come back with a different gear entirely. A darker gear. A more reckless, more desperate, more frightening version of himself that he has never fully unleashed on a WWE audience. The sympathy is there. The physical tools are undeniable. The motivation now exists in a way it simply didn't before. If they handle this correctly, what Bron Breakker did to Bronson Reed on Raw doesn't just elevate Breakker, it finally gives Reed the rocket fuel his career has been missing. The question is whether WWE Creative has the vision and the patience to light that fuse properly. History suggests we should be cautiously optimistic. And his mentality, that cold, relentless, I am not stopping mentality we watched on full display against Reed, makes him nearly impossible to game plan against. Who beats this man right now? Seriously, I want you to think about it. Not who should beat him in a fantasy booking world where creative is perfect and everyone gets their moment. Who, on the current Raw roster, has the specific skill set and the specific booking position to credibly end what Bron Breakker is currently doing? That is not a rhetorical question. I genuinely do not have a clean answer. And that is either the most exciting or most terrifying thing about where this is headed, depending on what kind of fan you are. Here's the bottom line. Bron Breakker destroying Bronson Reed on Raw was not just a moment. It was a statement written in the most physical language available to a professional wrestler. It said, the ceiling is gone. It said, the rulebook I operate by is different from yours. It said, whatever you thought you knew about what I am capable of, recalibrate. Reed will recover. Reed will return. And when he does, if this story is told correctly, it will be worth every second of the destruction we watched on Monday night. But right now this is Bron Breakker's world. And the rest of that locker room is just trying to survive in it. Tell me in the comments, do you think anyone on the Raw roster can stop Bron Breakker right now? And do you think WWE will give Bronson Reed the revenge story he deserves? Because this conversation is just getting started. Share this video. Send it to your wrestling people. Because Ring Rumble 1 is where the real talk lives.